You are viewing a short video that overviews the operation and procedures for the Spotcheck Trace hazardous drug trace contaminant assay system. Before we get into the actual operation and procedures for the test, I wanted to go through a quick tour of the components. So here we have the actual test components. These are in a small kit contained within the starter kit, and you have 6 of each. This is a 3 ml cuvette. This is 5 ml of extraction solution. This is a dropper bottle containing reagent solution, obviously the swab stick, and then a 3 ml disposable pipette, which is used to transfer sample from the extraction solution bottle into the cuvette. Additionally, we have the Android device. Now this Android device operates the spectrometer, which is what we have right next to it. Now you can notice that in the app we have 4 menus. So we have a scan menu. That is essentially the pairing menu to pair the 2 devices together. We have the testing menu, which is where the everyday user will be operating the system for testing. When you pair the device, it opens up in the tips screen. And this is a screen that has just a handful of advisements, things we want you to be aware of when you're running your test. And then lastly, there is an admin screen menu. The everyday user will not access this menu. This has a number of settings and pieces of information required to actually run the calculations for the test. So going back to the scan menu, I want to take a quick look at the meter itself. When we look at the back of the meter, you'll see that we have the access for the charging cable. This is a USB-C cable. It's contained in the kit, but any USB-C cable will work. And you see a white on-off button. By depressing this button just for a couple of seconds, you'll see that it starts to activate the device, and you can see on the screen it's identified that device. You'll press it and it spins looking for it. It very quickly identifies and connects, and as stated earlier, it takes you to the tip screen. So now we're going to go off and actually go through the procedures for the test. So when we come into a surface and we have a large surface that we want to test, what you're looking to do is identify a 12-inch by 12-inch square area, 1 foot by 1 foot, and you'll swab that area in 4 different directions. So you don't have to worry about what order you do it, but what you're doing is you're going across the surface in a up-down or down-up direction. You'll flip the swab over, start at an upper corner, and go diagonally across the surface. Flip the swab, and then you'll go diagonally the opposite direction of what you did previously. Flip the swab over and then go sideways. That ensures a very thorough swabbing of the area to ensure that if there is any contaminant there, that you will capture it. After swabbing is completed, we will take the swab stick, and you'll notice there's a notch in the stick. You'll put the swab head into the extraction solution. You'll put the notch right on the lip of the vial and snap it off. Replace the cap, and you're going to swirl it for 20 seconds. It's a minimum of 20 seconds. You can go longer. You could actually walk out, check an email or two if you needed to, and then come back. Longer doesn't really impact the test. We just want to make sure there's adequate time to transfer any potential contaminant on the swab head into the extraction solution. Once that's complete, you'll take your cuvette. One quick thing about the cuvette before we get too far along is it's difficult to see here, but you see at the top there's a fill line, which is right here embossed in it, and also you'll notice there's a little arrow. This arrow needs to be lined up with the arrows on the top of your photometer when we're in there placing the cuvette in there, and I'll illustrate that when we get to that point. The other thing is you can handle the cuvette at the top, you can handle it at the bottom, but we do not want you putting glove tips or fingertips around the middle, as that's where the light path shoots through the cuvette when it's taking the sample. We're going to remove the cap, place it aside, then we're going to pull out 3 milliliters of the solution and place it in the cuvette. This usually takes a couple of pulls with the pipette to get enough solution, and you'll fill it up to that fill line previously noted. Put that aside, and we will recap the cuvette and inspect it to make sure there's no particulates or bubbles in the solution. So now we go to the spectrometer. Identify your arrow on the cuvette, and you want that to line up with the 2 arrows on either side of the cuvette opening. We'll place it in. Now we're ready to shoot our first reading. This is a blank reading. And what we're doing is collecting our baseline. It's a relatively quick measurement, takes about 10 seconds. Once it does and it's finished, it will flip to the next part of the operations menu, which is to run the actual assay. To do that, we're going to remove the cap from our cuvette. You're going to take your reagent solution and you're going to add 5 drops of reagent. Replace the cap, remove the cuvette so you can do a quick mix. Find your arrow on the cuvette, put it back in place so it's lining up with the arrows embossed on the top of the spectrometer. Then you're going to run your assay, which starts a 3.5-minute countdown. So we're counting down the last 15 seconds or so of our 3.5 minute countdown. At that time, the meter will shoot the reacted sample. The calculations will be run to determine the difference, if there is any, between baseline and reacted, and we'll have a result. Now, this was a thoroughly clean surface, so I anticipate that we'll get a below detectable limit, which we did. So there you have it. It's a very fast, very easy test. USP 800 suggests twice a year, 6 samples. So you can do that very quickly, efficiently, and effectively using the Spotcheck Trace HD contaminant assay system.